Schlockmeister fans. For bonus material on the Hanging Woman DVD, we're going to watch something called The Sweet Sound of Death. Let's check it out. This is Pablo and Dominique, a young couple in love.
Hello. Hello. Waiting home?
No. A couple of seconds. Where should we go?
Wherever you like.
No. Excuse me.
This restaurant table seems to have carpet on it.
I won't see you. It puts me to bad humor. Don't go away, Dominique.
Stop begging me, Pablo. At home I would never be forgiven if I stayed here during vacation.
She takes him to a cemetery. She's fascinated by death.
What's the strangers do?
I'm attracted.
To bullfights?
No, I'm into death. I've always thought it the state of perfection for all men.
She has a
I
plan
will, Dominique. This is utter
for if
nonsense.
one of
You
them
know
dies
I love you.
before the other.
You'll love me after death.
Why should I say that?
I want to hear you say that you'll go on loving me beyond the end of mortality.
What?
The first one who dies must come back to Earth from the beyond. Repeat it.
The first one who dies must come back to Earth from the beyond.
And prepare the other one for the hereafter.
So she flies home on holiday to meet her family. And Pablo gets a premonition of a plane crash.
There were only 2 survivors, a man and a woman.
He believes Dominique to be dead. But then, guess who gives him a call?
Hello? Dominique, I've been sick with fear. You're not hurt, you're all right. Yes, obviously you're all right. Dominique, I love you. I love you, Dominique.
That's a family member of Dominique's. So they reunite. She seems very much alive. Then at this restaurant, this kid accidentally throws his toy in the fire. A toy plane. She gets it out and somehow doesn't get burned, doesn't get hurt. And Pablo finds that odd.
It's the truth, Pablo. I swear it. You see, I'm really dead.
Come on, don't make jokes like that. Liar. Lovely to look at, but a bare face like
He just got a letter from the airlines.
When I open this, it's the end of your play acting.
Don't be funny. It's advertising.
It's from the airlines you flew on. They're not joking. It's a list of survivors I asked for.
So Pablo jumps in the shower, and as he's getting out, Dominique says, I gotta go, and she runs, and she leaves him, and she burned the letter from the airlines before she left, too. So he goes down to the airline, and they confirm that she died.
You can see her name for yourself.
This little kid says he just saw Dominique.
A little bit ago. But she said to tell you.
Tell me what?
I didn't understand it.
What did she tell you? Think hard.
She said she had to go away someplace far off. Because she has a date that makes her sad.
Question. By seeing the corpse with her own eyes, is the Dominique underneath the ground the Dominique that you knew on Earth?
It's the professor friend that he knows.
But I was afraid you resented that.
So he shows up at Dominique's funeral just in time to see the coffin taken down into a crypt.
Wait. I'm afraid we are late. Now, there's nothing to do about it.
But then he sees Dominique,
Well, then I wonder
but
why.
apparently nobody else could.
All right. What would you think of me if I said that today in the cemetery with you, I was unable to see Dominique? In that case, this morning at the cemetery, who were the people who came to the funeral of a young girl named Dominic?
They're another branch, a distant one, and their name is Monceau. The people of Lyons. All they wanted was to see the funeral of the poor young lady.
Apparently her family is already deceased too, and this guy came to the mansion where they used to live and found it kind of empty. Now when Pablo shows up at that mansion, he finds Dominique's family. They tell that Dominique is upstairs sleeping, can't be disturbed.
I know she's willing to marry me, and I intend to marry Dominique. I would like very much, though, to have you give us your consent and blessing.
But of course I shall give it, and with all my heart.
But you mean that we're not waiting for Dominique? She's resting in bed. She was indisposed this morning.
Yes, this morning she told us she must have a complete rest.
I'm afraid tonight she has to stay upstairs. She'll spend the night here with us. You can't go on a night like this.
I'll come back tomorrow morning.
No. I insist tonight you stay here with us. As you can see, the house is much too large, just for the four of us.
So, passed away from injuries in an automobile wreck on the 5th of August in the year of our Lord, 1944.
Pablo pokes around, finds a scrapbook, finds out that everybody he just met
Claude Legrand
is dead.
passed away in an accident while hunting the 6th of May in the year of our Lord, 1947. Killed in action, Jacques Monceau passed away from wounds received the 9th of January, 1945.
And Dominique too. But she shows
It's a
up.
joke, an absurd joke. You're playing a trick.
Pablo, don't you see that it's natural?
Natural. That I went to dinner with your dead relative.
Eternal being.
Then set me free, Dominique. If you want to live forever in a shroud, then go ahead. Stay here with these ghosts of yours. Go on, you're a dead man.
He goes back to find his professor friend who basically puts him to bed. The next day, Dominique finds him again, or he finds Dominique. And the officials go into the crypt, and they find Pablo with Dominique, who is clearly dead. And I don't know exactly what happened to Pablo, but it appears that he's dead also. So what do? They simply close up shop and let him be. Alright, let's talk about this movie called The Sweet Sound of Death, which is included as an extra movie on this DVD for The Hanging Woman, put out by Troma. Never heard of this movie before. I wasn't even aware that I had this movie until I watched The Hanging Woman. I saw that there was another movie listed on this box. So there you go. Anyway, it's a 1965 Spanish horror film. The woman's name is Danica. I don't even see it on the box because she was also The Hanging Woman, but something like that. I don't know. She plays Dominique. Now, she and her boyfriend Pablo, they're just a young couple. They're kind of, I don't know if they're quite engaged yet, or I think they are engaged. But anyway, they're walking through a cemetery, and she starts talking kind of like creepy stuff, and she says stuff like, if one of us dies, I think we need to come back and then help the other into the afterlife, or prepare the other person for the afterlife, something like that. And then, sure enough, she goes away on I think she's going back to see her parents for the holiday or something like that, and her plane crashes, and she dies. Now, he doesn't know right away that she's dead. He's heard about a plane crash, but doesn't have any details yet whether or not she would survive, because there was, I guess, apparently 2 survivors, including a one man and one woman, so he's hopeful that it's her. And then all of a sudden, she calls him, and he's like, oh, good, you're alive. So, but she's not quite right. They meet the next day, and he notices there's some differences about it. Like, she can put her hand in this fire to get this little kid's toy out, and she didn't get burned at all. Nothing happened to her. Nothing wrong. So, eventually, it comes out that she is, stupid fly, that she is in fact deceased, and he doesn't believe it at first, but he goes to visit her family and at this estate, and the family acts really weird also, and he does some investigating after he goes to bed and finds like obituaries of all the family members that he just had dinner with. So, and then he sees one for Dominique as well. So he tells this professor of his about it, and he's a little, he doesn't quite think it adds up, but nonetheless he agrees to look into it. Ultimately, it ends with the guy going into the crypt, because he attends the funeral for Dominique, and he sees Dominique at the funeral, so he thinks that she's alive, but nobody else could see Dominique, and eventually he goes into the crypt, and later on that academic guy, that professor, goes into the crypt as well, and they find him on top of Dominique, and I guess he's dead. I don't know what he actually died of, though, but looked like he was dead too, and that's kind of how our film ends. I like this movie. It was a creepy kind of weird atmosphere, just very quiet, and just it's a weird film I never even heard of before. The original title is called La Llamada, I think is how it's pronounced. It is at least English dubbed, and I don't know, I just kind of enjoyed it. It's black and white. The lead actress was beautiful. No nude scenes, no real violence in this movie. If you want to see her nude, watch The Hanging Woman. She was nude in that one. But yeah, it was a pretty weird but kind of fascinating film. I kind of liked the overall atmosphere for it. So anyway, curious if anybody else has seen The Sweet Sound of Death. As far as I know, it's only available on this DVD with The Hanging Woman, which I'll leave a link down below. You can get it if you want. I think it's relatively cheap, maybe in the $20 range or so. So anyway, check it out. Let me know what you think about it. It's called The Hanging Woman. Watch it. I'm sorry. It's not called The Hanging Woman. It's called The Sweet Sound of Death. Watch it. Bye.